I think we can go to the Prime Minister, who's on the line now for more on the Delta 2 levels. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Good morning.
If we could just start with an update, I've seen a few whispers around in the media that we might get the extra doses that you're looking for today. Is that something we can expect?
Not something I can update you on now, but you'll know that over the past few weeks, once we had that, over 150% increase in people coming out to be vaccinated, that real surge in demand. Despite our constrained supply, we really just wanted to provide that vaccine. And so we've done that, and we've gone out to try and seek that extra supply. And it's only for the month of September that things have been really tight for us, Corin, because in October we get those really large shipments from Pfizer. Whilst I don't have anything to update you on right now, we will be looking to do that over the course of this week.
How long have you got, though, until you start to have to dial things back?
Oh, well, we've always said that September's quite tight for us, which is why we've been...
But I mean in days, sorry to interrupt.
Supply. Look, we're continuing the program as planned, and our view is if we can give you an update this week, then any changes we'd need to make going forward, we have enough time to implement them. But this week is when I'll look to give you an update.
Okay, let's start with the border. How confident are you about this Auckland border, given that there were 5 community cases that were unlinked yesterday? I know that's coming down. Also 33 mystery cases still. You must be pretty worried that there will be a case that spreads out into the rest of New Zealand, surely.
Well, look, Delta has generated more mystery cases for us a little later on in a level 4 environment than what we've had before. So that's one of the reasons that we are tightening up the border and just asking those who are crossing that within every 7-day period of crossing, that people are tested in a cycle, really. So we're looking to work with employers, particularly in the freight industry, to try and make that as easy as possible and also not cause too much congestion.
Well, we just heard from them, actually, and they are not particularly happy about that, obviously. Putting that aside, one issue seems to be saliva testing, right?
I know that no one would... And saliva testing is part of the work that we're doing.
But when, though? When can they expect that?
So some companies are already using saliva testing for surveillance of their staff, but we're looking at whether or not we contract specifically provided to provide that saliva testing. In the meantime, CBACs are a quick, free, in the community way to also have that testing available, but we're considering other options to try and make it easier. Corin, what I would say, though, is that, look, I absolutely understand this does put an extra ask on those who are already, of course, have their passes to move through at the border, and we try to make that as quick and easy as possible. But this is the price, really, of us having the country with more freedoms, and one of the things that we can do to ourselves while we do that.
Understand. Can I just get a brief answer or a brief comment on saliva testing? This has driven the opposition crazy for months. It seems as though we never quite get there. We're now saying it's still a couple of weeks for some of these truckies. Why can't we have saliva testing now?
So the Ministry of Health have told me that they've already in a contract negotiation with a provider for saliva testing that may involve the border. And so we're already using it in our managed isolation facilities, and it is already available to companies some companies I know, roughly, I believe, 3,500 saliva tests that weren't reported through general reporting, I believe, have been undertaken in workplaces across the country in the last week or so. So saliva testing is being used in the system in New Zealand. It's been used by us. It's been used privately. We're now just seeing whether we can...
But it's been too slow. You would accept that?
Look, ultimately, Corin, I have to accept the advice of our health professionals, and if their view was that they wanted a PCR version of saliva testing because we weren't in a position as other countries to have something that might have been more rapid but not quite as accurate. But what we are using here in New Zealand is as accurate as a nasal swab, and I think should be well integrated into our system.
Sure. One of the other issues with these alert level changes is that many of the hospitality businesses feel they're not going to be pretty much able to survive with 50 limit. Just some confusion too around alert levels and wage subsidies. What support can you offer a business, say in Queenstown, that's in alert level 2, it can't operate with 50 people, it's not going to be enough. Yep. What does it get?
The same access to support that they have now. So happy to clarify, it sounded like there was some unfortunately, misunderstanding from some of those who spoke this morning. If any part of the country is in alert level 3 or 4, then the wage subsidy is available nationally. Now, the reason we've done that is because, for instance, a rental car company in one part of the country might be entirely reliant on its bookings coming out of Auckland. So that the wage subsidy's national availability when any part of the country is in alert level 3 or 4 is recognition of the knock-on effect that having those restrictions in place has. So yes, someone in Queenstown during alert level 2 who may be in hospitality, who finds that the 50-person cap for an indoor setting is too hard for them, will be able to access the wage subsidy.
Good to know. Just one very quick question to finish with. This is sort of looking forward here. I was just curious. The vaccination rates are getting up, particularly with first doses up to around, 60%, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
At what point do the vaccination rates start to impact your decisions on future lockdowns, when you can perhaps not have to go into as tight a lockdown? When does that equation start to come into your mind?
Well, look, this is where we're actually able to cast our eyes around the world and see that there's actually, even of those countries who have some of the highest vaccination rates in the world, they're still coupling it with public health restrictions, but they're not using lockdowns in the same way as perhaps they had previously. So I don't want to keep using those tools. No one does. Elimination is absolutely the right thing for us right now while we're vaccinating, but the long-term goal...
Sure, but we could be there, we could be there up around 70% by, if we're going at this rate, by, November. So could that be a point where you say, you know what, we don't have to lock down?
So second doses matter too. So we see a dramatic decrease across hospitalisations with second doses. So some countries you see... in Australia, they've been talking a bit about first dose. For us, second dose really matters because that's when you stop people being really profoundly unwell. So for us, I'd have to say, Corin, I want to be higher than what we've seen in some of those other places because they are still seeing a lot of deaths and a lot of hospitalisations. But ultimately, vaccinations are the way that we can replace those more extreme ends of public health measures like lockdowns. So
understand.
Please, everyone, get vaccinated.
Prime Minister, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern